Hello, I hope you're having a good day. Today we'll be watching a movie called Infini. At the beginning of the film, it is explained through notes that during the 20th century, poverty increased drastically worldwide. This forced many people to accept dangerous jobs, such as interplanetary mining. To transport workers to these hazardous places, a teleportation technology called slipstreaming was developed. For slipstreaming to work, a device known as Apex is implanted into workers' bodies, connecting to their nervous systems, allowing them to be teleported to specific locations. The scene then shifts to a group of nervous soldiers, focusing in particular on a woman who appears very anxious. Her superior, David, along with some doctors, asks her several questions, but she can't answer clearly, which causes concern in the group. Tension rises as they prepare for an important mission. In the next scene, we meet a man named Whit, who is starting his first day on the job. The soldiers, including Whit, head to West Coast, the space headquarters, where they will be sent on a rescue mission to a distant planet. Before leaving, Whit's pregnant wife, Lisa, asks him to return soon, and Whit promises he'll be home by night. He arrives at the base where soldiers are getting ready for the mission. The captain gathers the group and tells them to prepare for departure. The mission is to travel to a planet called Infini. Once the team arrives there, something strange happens. The soldiers start behaving oddly, almost as if they've been infected by something dangerous. Meanwhile, back at headquarters, something goes terribly wrong, triggering an emergency lockdown that traps the captain and the remaining soldiers inside the base. One of them, trying to fix the situation, connects both Dane's and Whit's Apex devices to Infini, successfully teleporting them to the planet. However, when he tries to connect the captain's Apex, something fails, leaving him trapped while Dane and Whit are sent to Infini. After that, David arrives to brief the soldiers. He explains that they're being sent to Infini after a terrible accident on the planet where thousands of miners died. A scientist named Montoli had been sent there with a team to investigate. However, something strange happened to them, and they all died too. When they tried to bring Montoli back using the Apex system, he forcibly removed the device, as if he didn't want to return. His mental state had greatly deteriorated. David continues explaining that Montoli took control of a spaceship from the base on Infini. If that ship reaches Earth, the whole planet will be destroyed. A rescue team was sent from West Coast to stop the ship and save Montoli, but they failed, and everyone on that team died. However, there's still hope that one soldier, Whit, might have survived. David tells the soldiers their mission is to go to Infini, save Whit, and stop the spaceship. He also warns them that time on Infini flows differently than on Earth. 1 minute and 14 seconds on Earth equals 14 hours on Infini. They must complete the mission within 24 hours of Infini time, or the spaceship will reach Earth. After this briefing, David teleports the soldiers to Infini. Upon arrival, the captain interrogates Whit about what happened to the other soldiers. Clearly emotional, Whit explains that the team became infected with something, lost control, and began killing each other. Whit had no choice but to lock himself in a room and destroy the rest of the base, which killed everyone. The captain, confused, asks why there are dismembered human body parts scattered around. Whit insists he knows nothing about it. The captain then tells Whit they came to rescue him, but first they must stop the ship being controlled from the base. Whit agrees to help, and the team begins working to disable the spaceship. A soldier named Harris goes with George and Claire, a couple, to deactivate the ship's systems, while Whit remains in the control room guiding them and trying to stop the launch. Rex, one of the soldiers, watches Whit and says he can't understand how Whit survived when everyone else got infected. He demands Whit show him his eyes. Annoyed, Whit complies and asks Rex, "What makes you think I'm not infected just by looking at my eyes?" After this, Rex decides to trust Whit. With Rex, Harris, and the rest working together, they finally manage to stop the spaceship's launch. Everyone feels relieved. But suddenly, an infected person appears and attacks the captain with an axe, killing him. This leaves everyone in shock. Then, another infected individual attacks the soldiers, but one of them shoots the attacker in the face. However, the infected's blood splashes on the soldiers, infecting them as well, and causing them to start acting strangely. Despite the chaos, Whit tries to flee. In his panic, he loses balance and falls. Another soldier catches up to him and demands answers, accusing Whit of betrayal. The soldier asks, "You said everyone was dead, so how did that infected person survive?" Believing Whit lied to them, the soldier threatens not to let him escape. As Whit runs, the soldier chases him. Soon they encounter an infected soldier, and both the pursuer and the infected one fight to the death. Whit arrives at a laboratory, desperately searching for medicine. Finding none, he becomes frustrated, and his erratic behavior makes him seem possibly infected too. While in the lab, Whit finds research documents written by the scientist who came with Montoli. The documents describe an alien species called Ogi. These organisms are glass-like and melt at 10 degrees Celsius. Once inside the human body, they take complete control, learning everything about the host. They also create new cells capable of transforming the human body. To Whit's horror, he realizes these life forms exist by the millions. Just then, Harris enters the lab and points a weapon at Whit. He accuses him of lying and trapping them on the planet. Harris demands to know how Whit hasn't been infected. Whit insists he's telling the truth, claiming he stayed away from infected people, which kept him safe. He also shares what he's learned about the Augie aliens, leaving Harris in shock. At that moment, Rex, now infected, bursts into the lab and attacks Harris. When Rex is about to shoot him, Whit begs him to remember who he is and that Harris is his friend. Rex briefly regains control of himself and, in a final act to protect Harris, shoots himself, ending his life to prevent the infection from spreading any further. As Whit begins to leave, Harris calls out to him, accusing him of being infected. He says, "I know you're infected too, and you're responsible for the death of my entire team. I'm not going to let you go." Harris raises his weapon to shoot, but before he can, Whit shoots first, killing Harris. Whit keeps moving and encounters Rick, who is clearly infected. Rick speaks through a microphone, muttering, "I'll save you." As Whit gets closer, Rick tells him, "I'm not going to kill you because now I understand you're like me. But I'm jealous. Why hasn't the life form inside you fully awakened yet?" This reveals that Whit is indeed infected, though the infection hasn't overtaken him like it has Rick. Rick then claims he's initiated the extraction process, which will allow them to return to Earth. Hearing this, Whit feels a spark of hope and asks who the doctor on his team is. Rick replies that Claire is the doctor, but that she's already infected. He adds that only a few of them remain: himself, Whit, Claire, and George. Meanwhile, George finds Claire soaked in blood. He asks what happened, and she confesses, "I killed my son." George is enraged, and they begin to fight. Later, Whit finds Claire, but she's barely alive. He asks if she knows anything about the life form, hoping to find a way to stop it. Weak and defeated, Claire tells him, "It's too late. We're all going to die." With that, she succumbs to her wounds and dies. Soon after, Rick confronts Whit again, aiming a gun at him. Rick admits he lied about the extraction process and confesses his real intent is to kill Whit. "You looked at me with anger in your eyes, and I can't let that go," says Rick. They begin to fight, and Whit desperately tries to escape, hiding amid the chaos. But the infection begins to affect him, weakening him. Rick eventually finds Whit again, and they engage in one final fight. Whit manages to grab a pipe and wraps it around Rick's neck. With great effort, he strangles Rick, ending his life in the battle. After everything that has happened, Whit decides to record a final audio message. Speaking directly to the alien life form, he says, "I know you can hear and understand me. I want you to know that I'll never let your plan succeed. You've taken many lives while wandering among us, trying to understand humanity. But all you've learned is violence and destruction. If you had focused on the good things humans have to offer, you could have brought new hope to broken or lost people. Instead, you've brought only death. That's all you've learned, and I won't allow it to continue. Whit finishes the recording, plays it on loop, and then sits at a table determined to prevent the life form from fully taking control. He cuts his wrist, hoping to die by his own will. As the blood flows from his body, Whit finally dies. Time passes and something strange begins to happen. The life form starts to abandon the bodies of all the dead soldiers, retreating from them. At the same time, the blood that had drained from Whit's body begins to flow back into him. In a miraculous moment, Whit comes back to life. He looks around and sees that the other soldiers are also reviving, just like him. The scene leaves Whit and the others in shock, unable to understand how they returned from the dead. The captain quickly gathers the group and tells them they must return to headquarters. But there's something important. No one must know they were infected. If anyone finds out, they could be killed. They also must ensure that no one ever returns to Infini again, because their mission is over. All the soldiers agree, knowing they have no other choice. They begin to prepare for teleportation back to Earth using their Apex systems. Just as they're about to leave, Whit sees the alien life form again, now in the shape of a humanoid figure. To Whit's surprise, the creature is holding something, a photo of Lisa, Whit's wife. This stuns Whit, but before he can react, they are teleported back to Earth. Once on Earth, the soldiers are immediately received by David and the other doctors. Just like at the beginning of the film, they're bombarded with questions and prepared for scanning. Everyone is nervous because they know that if the doctors discover they were infected, it could mean disaster. However, George steps forward first, takes a deep breath, and provides his information for scanning. Miraculously, the scan comes back negative, no signs of infection. The others follow, and one by one all the soldiers are declared infection-free. They all breathe a sigh of relief, thankful to have escaped the reach of the alien organism. Finally, Whit reunites with Lisa. Despite everything that happened on Infini, only a few hours have passed on Earth. Lisa, unaware of the ordeal, is simply happy to see Whit. Their reunion is filled with relief and joy. The movie ends with this emotional moment, Whit returning home after an unimaginable journey, alive and safe with his wife. I hope you enjoyed the video.